In the past few weeks, Nigerians have been on edge as conversations swell around a hike in the price of fuel. Now, the conversations seem not to be ending soon, as the federal government and labor unions are yet to arrive at an agreement or an agreed price for the products.
Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Group, with the group general manager, that's Mele Kyari, said that the NNPC pays 120 billion naira every month to subsidize premium motor spirit known as PMS or petrol. Now, Kyari noted that the burden placed on the NNPC by ongoing subsidization of petrol is quite overwhelming. As a result of the huge sum being paid, the NNPC boss stated that Nigerians would have to pay the actual cost for petrol sooner or later.
He pointed out that the product was currently being sold below the cost of importation, causing the NNPC to pay the difference. It says the NNPC is of the opinion that market forces must be allowed to determine the pump price of petrol in the country in the nearest future.
However, the Nigerian Labour Congress has said Nigerians could not accommodate any price increase in petroleum products. Now, given that many have been impoverished because of the COVID-19 pandemic and economic downturn, the Labour Union asked Nigerians to join the union to resist any attempt to increase the price, saying that they will be backing Nigerians for this. So now we want to get into these issues around this right now. And joining us is Mukhtar Muhammed. Mukhtar is a financial analyst and also quite a regular on our business program, Business Edge. But Mukhtar, good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Mukhtar,
okay.
Yeah, let me start first. Why have there been, issues around subsidy removal in Nigeria? Is it, not the right thing to do at this point?
It has never been the right thing to do for any government to subsidize petroleum products, especially when your revenue base is your means of revenue is that's the only means of foreign revenue you have. Subsidy can be good when you can quantify it and it's not issued in a lot of corruption. Just of recent, the NNPC was telling us that we are consuming over 60 million liters of fuel every day, and we don't have specific data to back this consumption rate. So it's not in the spirit of government to subsidize issues like this. You can subsidize in other areas that will touch the generality of Nigeria and make a lot of impact in their life. When I say generality of people say, oh, subsidizing fuel is not the generality of Nigeria, and I ask them, how many of you have 3 cars? How many of you have 4 cars? How is government cars about 6 or 7 are going? So each of that time we are subsidizing them. So we need to look at the bigger picture of what subsidy is all about. If you are saying you are doing subsidy on electricity that has to touch every Nigerian in terms of how much of those electricity you use, then I understand. But when you talk of subsidy, most Nigerians that you are thinking you are subsidizing for are the ones that suffer more for it, because any single volatile price, they seem to be the one to suffer for it because the cost of transportation will go up. So who are you really subsidizing for? That has always been my advocate. I'm an advocate of removal of subsidy. I think I'm a full advocate of removal of subsidy. I've been on this for a long time, and I keep saying it. The best way to go is to remove subsidy. Government will come and tell you a lot of stories. It's because the government of Nigeria have refused to give back to the people of Nigeria. Because when you look at the cost of importation of petroleum products into Nigeria, that price jacked up over 50% when it comes into the Nigerian water. That is what the government should be looking at. How can we reduce that rate in terms of these charges that were charged on most of these containers, so that the generality of Nigerians will not suffer so much? That is the way that if government is saying they want to reduce subsidy, that is the way I think they should reduce subsidy directly from the source, rather than reducing subsidy based on consumption that cannot be quantified.
Okay, let's go to the meat of the matter, and that has to do with the masses. The Labour has held government basically to a standstill on the issue of a fuel hike. But the feelers we're getting from the NNPC is that however we look at it, there has to be a price hike. So are we just delaying the inevitable? Do you see Labour being able to price things down for Nigerians? What are the alternatives, really, that will cushion the impact of a fuel hike that we know is coming on the citizens?
Look, we've tried a lot of impact. We've done the mass transit program, mass transit transportation. We've done trying to petroleum regulate. We've done a lot of things that have not really worked in terms of trying to see how you can minimize the sufferings of Nigeria in the area of society. Rather, we end up going deep into more corruption. Now, Nigerian Labour Congress should be sincere with themselves because some of them work in the oil industry to know how much most of this is. So some of them also are not telling the people the truth. So when we talk about subsidy removal, like I said, the best way we can curtail this is for government to begin to take some hits in terms of their own revenue. Whereby you see, when you see about landing costs, you talk about freight rate, you talk about demurrage rate, so much rate, you talk of custom, talk of MPA. Those are that's where the government should be looking at, not looking at just increasing the fuel price. Like I said, when you get this fuel product into Nigeria, by the time it gets to a Nigerian water, because of the rate that is caused by government, most of these prices goes up. It's not about whether the people like it or not. So government should be the one to begin to think about remove subsidy through direct sources, not trying to put the burden on the people by increasing fuel prices or petroleum, especially, why I agree with that, especially in the era of the pandemic. So a lot of Nigerians have lost their jobs, so you can't be putting more burden on them. So that is where, but for government to continue to pay subsidy, I don't think it's right for government to be paying subsidy, because subsidy is involved in a lot of corruption, because we don't have the data to know how many cars are being subsidized. And again, when you look at subsidy, it has come with different names. Remember that this federal government came in and said, look, we are no more paying subsidy, we will not be paying subsidy. Then NNPC took it over, and until we started getting their financial reports, that we saw that somebody somewhere is behind the conch of this so-called subsidy that government is not paying, and they call it under recovery. They didn't call it subsidy. So it's of recent that the group managing director of NNPC is trying to let us know that, look, we are paying subsidy. But ordinarily before, they call it under recovery. So that's a part of the transparency that is not there when it comes to payment of subsidy that we keep talking about.
Mukhtar, staying with that same question, I'd like you to, from your position, you see a lot of things happen in the oil sector. What are the options? What likely options, basically, do you expect to see from the meeting between the NNPC and Labour, which seems to be dragging?
I think they have no options. That's why you're seeing the meeting is dragging, because the government are sticking to their guts. We can continue to pay subsidy, and Labour is saying, no, we want petroleum prices to remain like that. And the only solution to this problem is, one, we have our refineries working. If the refineries are working, we won't be insured in all these controversies. That will reduce costs in terms of most of those rates that are being charged. It's not that the international price will not be the same, but like I told you, there are a lot of charges that they pay them to when this this refined petroleum product lands in the Nigerian water. So all those charges will be off it, and that could bring back down the price of petroleum product, even if the price is higher in terms of the crude market price. So that could be one. But as it stands now, Nigerian refineries are not even operating up to 10% capacity. So we are importing over 90% of our petroleum products. So there's nothing they can do than to, that's what Labour, that's why government is sticking, and Labour is saying, no, you have to do something. And when you listen to Labour argument is what I've said initially, that they are saying, look, you need to take some bite also in terms of your revenue so that the people will not suffer. That is, they don't have so much option to do. Rather, government takes some bites for the short term, then make sure we have private refinery running, then you create a level playing field. And then we could say it's history talking about subsidy. Long-term procedure, let the refinery work. How do you want the refinery to work? Not what government is trying to do by turnaround maintenance of particular refineries. What I mean by when I want the government to make refineries work, I want the government to begin to think of modular refinery, giving private sector the key to begin to run that petroleum sector while government receive tax. Unbungle the NNPC, pass the petroleum industry bill into law, so that we begin to see private sector, we begin to see them run that very highly sensitive breadwinner of Nigerian economy with transparency and honesty. Then also, we know government is celebrating one, they are celebrating the Dangote refinery will be coming on stream. So if you look at that like that, then those are the ways out, but those ways are the long-term solution. But the short-term solution, government take a bite on your revenue.
All right, Mukhtar Muhammed, the financial analyst, also monitoring stuff and all the proceedings in the petroleum sector. Thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Central and at least breaking it down and also reminding us about the breadwinner of Nigeria's economy, petrol. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
All right.
Have a good day.
Wow.